You know how there are days when you think to yourself, I've had just about enough of this job. Those days when you start thinking about a plan B, where you're so done with being tired and stressed and unappreciated at work that you decide your plan B should be the easiest, most mindless gig you can think of. For as long as I can remember, I've always said that my fallback job, the plan B for me, the job I'd go and get when I've got nothing left to give, is ticket taker at the movie theater. I mean, come on, I feel like that's a pretty sweet gig, right? First, I would be in the air conditioning all summer long. Second, I figure you probably get to see movies and eat popcorn a lot, and that's pretty great. And third, talk about job security. Nothing's going to kill that industry. I mean, what could possibly happen that would, close down all the movie theaters? But the main reason that job appeals to me is because, as I see it, it requires no thought at all. On your left. On your left. On your left. That's my plan. When I am done with thinking and I just want to coast at work with the minimum amount of thought and effort possible, I'm going to tear tickets at the movie theater. In fact, the only thing that can mess up my plan is if I get a boss who insists on maximum effort and who is committed to telling me stories about why my work matters. Because these two things together won't let me coast. These two things together will actually make me try. You see, we know that people perform at work when they believe their work makes a difference in the lives of others. When bosses tell stories that tie the tasks and duties of a person's job to a powerful purpose that stirs the soul, people don't coast. They don't just go through the motions. In fact, I would argue that storytelling can be used to tie any job, anywhere, to a powerful purpose. And that's what leads people to feel motivated and inspired at work, even the ticket taker at the movie theater. Would you like to know how? If I were running a movie theater and I hired you to be my ticket taker, I'd tell you stories again and again that point to one big idea about why your work matters so much. I'd use these little stories to tell that big story about your powerful purpose. For example, shortly after you started working for me, I'd call you into my office and ask you this question. Say, who do you know that has been married for a really long time? If I asked you this question, you might cite your parents or grandparents, maybe some friends of the family or your neighbors. Whenever you tell me who you're thinking of, I'm going to give you an interesting piece of homework. Can I ask you to do me a favor? Would you call them up and ask them about their first date? And then would you come back and tell me as much as you can about it? Now, when you go and ask the long-married couple about their first date, you're probably going to get a really sweet story filled with detailed memories of where they went and what they wore and all the feelings. And when you come back to me and pass along what you heard, I'm going to ask you a follow-up question. Isn't it remarkable that they can remember so many details about a night that happened so long ago? I mean, most of us can't remember what we had for lunch yesterday. Most days pass, destined to be forgotten, but a few in our lives stand out. A few get burned in. And guess what? Every single person walking past you while you take tickets might be in the middle of a night they'll remember for the rest of their lives. And we get to be a part of that. Isn't that something? Now, shortly after this conversation, I'll give you another assignment. Hey, can you do me a favor? Would you go find someone in your life with children under the age of 10 and ask them 2 questions? First, when was the last time they went to a movie without the kids? And second, what kind of arrangements did they have to make to get away for a few hours? Would you come back and tell me what they said? Now, if you have kids, you already know what's coming back, right? My kids are 10, 8, and 4. A kid-free night at the movies is like winning the lottery. Wait, we have a sitter? This is happening? Yes! Our joy at getting away for a bit is so overpowering that we don't care at all about spending $39 for 2 small sodas and 6 crusty milk duds. I mean, with 3 kids, I'm out $50 for a sitter before we even leave the driveway, but I don't care. If I get to see a real-life grown-up movie with swearing and maybe guns and no talking animals, take my money. And when you, my dear ticket taker, come back to me and tell me that story, I am going to say, I think it's worth remembering that every person who walks past you while you're tearing tickets might be someone who had to arrange quite a lot just to get into our building that night. My job as your boss is to get you to see that your job is much more sophisticated than just standing still and tearing tickets. My job is to use little stories like these to believe the big story, that what we do here at my movie theater is help our customers escape stress, make memories, and have fun. That is our powerful purpose. And I'm going to repeatedly try to stir your soul with the little stories that prove that thesis over and over again. I'm going to point out when I see a father taking their child to their first Star Wars movie. And then I'll ask you about the first movie you remember seeing as a kid. I'm going to direct your attention to the obvious excitement of those folks who line up early in costume for the latest summer blockbuster. And then I'll ask you about the movies you were most excited to see over the course of your life. And I'll point out how affected and emotional our guests are after walking out of the latest Oscar-nominated tearjerker. And I'll ask you about the most recent movie you saw that made you really feel something. And along the way, I'm going to answer any question you ask about why a rule is in place or why a change is occurring, not by citing policy or regulations or corporate directives, but by telling you the story of how that policy or regulation or change impacts real people. I will find a way to connect my answer to your question to our larger cause of helping our customers escape stress, make memories, and have fun. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to use little stories to tell the big story of our purpose, because it is the only way I'm going to get you to try when things get hard, or when you're tired, or to motivate you to come to work when you'd rather not, or to get you, at a minimum, just to bring a higher quality energy to the interactions you have on the job. When you start to believe that your work matters, you come to work when it's hard or when you don't want to, and you give it all you've got. And right now, when so many are exhausted, when so many have been going at 10,000 RPMs for so long and with no end in sight, this is what they need from you, their boss, to get through the day. They need you to connect the dots. They need you to point out all the ways their work makes a difference in the lives of others. So point it out. Tell every story you can think of, big and small. That's how to be an inspirational boss and motivate employees. It's not because you're good at telling a story. It's because the story you tell about how they truly make a difference is food for their soul. Remember, commitment comes from better bosses. Thanks for watching. See you next time.